I never thought a single letter could unravel my entire life. But that's exactly what happened. It was a crisp October morning. I was 25 and I thought my family was not perfect but at least stable. My parents, Thomas and Grace, were respected in our neighborhood. My brother Ethan had just gotten engaged, and my older sister Julia was the golden one, flawless in everyone's eyes. We weren't the kind of family that aired our dirty laundry. Everything was smiles at the dinner table, hugs at Christmas, and polite small talk at gatherings. If there were cracks, they were hidden so well even I didn't see them. Or maybe I just didn't want to. That morning I was helping Mom clean the house, when I went into Dad's study. He wasn't home and honestly I never went in there. He was private about his things, meticulous. But as I dusted the shelves, I pulled open the bottom drawer of his desk. Buried under bills and old tax papers was an envelope. My name was written across it in his unmistakable handwriting. Rachel. For a moment I just stared. Why would my father hide a letter addressed to me? My hands shook as I slid my finger under the flap. Inside was a single sheet of paper. The words made my heart pound. Rachel, if you are reading this, it means the truth can no longer stay buried. There are things about our family you don't know. And one day you will have to choose who to protect. Dad. Froze. My throat went dry. The truth. Choose who to protect. Didn't make sense. Was this some kind of joke? A mistake? I read it again, but those were the only words. No explanations, no details, just a warning or maybe a threat. I shoved the letter back into the envelope and hid it in my bag before Mom came in. I plastered on a smile as we continued cleaning, but my head was buzzing with questions. That night, lying in bed, I couldn't sleep. The words repeated in my mind. The truth can no longer stay buried. Choose who to protect. What was Dad hiding? The next day I decided to dig deeper. If the letter was in his drawer, maybe there was more. When my parents left for the farmer's market, I went back to the study. My hands trembled as I searched through files, books, drawers. And then I found it. A locked metal box, tucked behind stacks of folders. It looked old, scratched, with a heavy padlock. My gut screamed this was what he didn't want anyone to see. I didn't have the key. But later that night, while Dad was asleep, I crept back in and tried something reckless. Using a hairpin and sheer desperation, I managed to pick the lock. When the box clicked open, my stomach dropped. Inside were photos. Dozens of them. Some were of me and my siblings when we were kids. But others were of strangers. People I had never seen before. Women, children, a few men. Some pictures were torn, some marked with dates. And then I found one that made my blood run cold. It was Julia, my perfect, flawless older sister. But she wasn't smiling, wasn't polished. She looked terrified. The photo was grainy, like it had been taken without her knowing. Written on the back, in my father's handwriting, were the words, "Never forget." I slammed the lid shut, my hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped it. What the hell was going on? Was my father stalking my sister? Watching strangers? Why? The next morning at breakfast, I studied my family like I'd never seen them before. Mom was humming, pouring coffee. Ethan was scrolling through his phone, grinning at texts from his fiancée. Julia, she looked perfect as always, but now when she smiled, I wondered if it was an act. And Dad? He looked calm, flipping through the newspaper. I had so many questions, but I couldn't ask. Not yet. I needed answers, not denials. That week, I started noticing things I hadn't before. Phone calls Dad would take late at night, whispering in his study. Julia avoiding eye contact when certain topics came up. Ethan, suddenly nervous whenever money was mentioned. And Mom, the glue of the family, always changing the subject, smoothing over tension before it grew. It was like they were all hiding something. The breaking point came one evening when I overheard an argument between Julia and Dad. "You promised this would stay buried," Julia hissed. "I promised nothing," Dad snapped back. "It was your choice, and one day Rachel deserves to know." I pressed my ear to the wall, my heart hammering. Deserves to know what? That night I confronted Julia. I cornered her in her room, locked the door and said, "Tell me what's going on." "I found Dad's letter. I saw the photo. What are you hiding from me?" Her face went pale. She tried to brush it off, but when I refused to back down, tears filled her eyes. "You don't understand," she whispered. "Dad isn't who you think he is." And then she told me something that shattered me. Years ago, when Julia was 16, she had run away from home for a few months. We were told she was studying abroad with relatives. But the truth, she had been pregnant. My perfect sister. Pregnant at 16. She said Dad found out and forced her to give the baby up. He arranged everything, the adoption, the secrecy, the pictures in the box. They were reminders of the child she lost, and others Dad had helped place into better families. First, I couldn't process it. My father, secretly controlling lives, making decisions behind closed doors. But Julia's tears were real. Her pain was raw. When I asked why Dad wrote that letter to me, Julia shook her head. "Because he knows one day you'll have to choose. Protect him, or expose him." And then she looked at me with a haunted expression. "And it won't just be about me, Rachel. It'll be about all of us." I didn't know what she meant, until 2 weeks later. Ethan came to me in a panic. He had gotten into gambling debts. Huge ones. And guess who had bailed him out? But not just once. Multiple times. In exchange, Ethan had signed documents, binding him to Dad financially. And Mom. Sweet, quiet Mom. I discovered she had known everything all along. She had been covering for Dad, smoothing cracks, holding us together with lies. My family wasn't just hiding one secret. They were drowning in them. And I was stuck in the middle. The more I uncovered, the more I realized the letter was right. One day I would have to choose. Protect my father, the man who had orchestrated, manipulated, and controlled everything, or expose him, shattering my family forever. That day came sooner than I thought. It was Christmas Eve. We were all sitting around the table, pretending to laugh, pretending to be normal. And then Dad raised his glass and said, "To family, the only thing worth protecting." I looked at him, at Julia's haunted eyes, Ethan's restless hands, Mom's forced smile. And I realized, the only person who had been in the dark all these years was me. I stood up, my voice shaking but strong. "No, Dad. Family isn't about protecting lies. It's about protecting each other. And you've done the opposite." The room went silent. My heart pounded as I pulled the letter from my pocket and placed it on the table. "Everyone deserves to know the truth," I said. Dad's face hardened, but for the first time he looked afraid. What happened after that, the shouting, the tears, the confessions, it felt like my entire world collapsing. But in the ruins there was something new. A chance to rebuild, maybe not as the perfect family everyone thought we were, but as a real one. And as for me, I'm still figuring it out. Some days I hate my father. Some days I pity him. But I know this much. Secrets destroy. And if you let them, they'll eat you alive. So let me ask you, if you were in my shoes, would you have protected your father's secrets to keep the family together? Or would you have torn everything apart to reveal the truth? Think about it and let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe, because the next story I share will make this one look like child's play.